Hello internet friends, my name is Catherine and I'm the human behind Creation News Culture, and today we're doing an exercise of potency. So we're going to be comparing technically the same recipe. The only difference will be the depth of shades for the true black that we're going to be adding. So for one skein, it's going to be a 0.10% depth of shades for the true black, and for the second skeins, it's going to be a 1% depth of shades for true black, so that way we can compare how potent true black can be. So it's going to be the exact same steps for both skeins. The exceptions will be the concentration of dye that we have for true black. So let's get into this. All right, so what we're going to be working on today is potency. And how we're going to do this is quite simple. We're going to have two skeins, one in each pan. And we will have the true black as our indicator of potency, meaning that in one of the pan we are going to only have 0.10% depth of shade for true black, and in the other pan we're going to do 1% depth of shade, and we're going to work with that. And then for ballerina pink and lilac, we are going to do a 1% depth of shade for our yarn, and we're going to be using my classic silk yarn base, which is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon, simply because I really like that base. It's just the right length and we're going to have fun. So reminder to always wear a respirator when you're working with a dry powder format, and also that all of my scales, all of my tools, it's all only used for dyeing yarn. It is dedicated to that. We do not use it for cooking. So we're going to be working on our stock solutions. So and I'm going to do 200 milliliter because I'm not sure if I'm going to do, oh, I need more jars. Oops. So we're going to do 200 milliliters for each because I'm not sure if when we're going to flip it, we're going to need more of the liquid form. So we're going to do that. Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to move you. Don't worry. And because my skeins are 1.15 gram, I need 2.3 gram. Well, actually, they're not 1.50, they're 115 gram. So I'm going to need 215 gram to do my 1% stock solution because we're going to do 200 milliliter. And so this one will be the 0.10. So we're going to need 0.30. Right on the dot. Okay. And I'm going to keep my things separate so that way I don't go crazy. And we're going to do the 1% stock solution. Come on. There we go. For the true black. So now we're going to be adding the liquid. And like I said, I want to ensure that everything is kept separately. So I remember that this one is the 0.10 and this one is the 1%. There we go. Okay, so now that we've added the water, I can remove my respirator because it's no longer in a dry powder form, and it's only dangerous for your lungs in the dry powder form. So we're going to stir these. I feel like I'm going to need to work maybe a little bit more the black. No, I think we're going to be good. And you might wondering why I chose those colors, because they're pretty. That's all. I like those colors, and I know that black will do a nice color shift for them. Okay, so this one is all 1% and this one has the 0.10%. Perfect. Now we're going to go in the dye pan. So what I'm going to do right now is that I will add my citric acid right away. And since we only are going to be using one skein of yarn for each, about 1 teaspoon is good enough. And we're going to do a lower immersion. So I'm putting 2 cups of tap water in each pan. There we go. And I'm going to be adding the skeins right away. So the skeins have been soaking overnight to ensure that we will have good color penetration, because it's going to be easier for the color to go through the entire thing when it's completely soaked, because when you have dry patches, it creates a natural resistance, because wool is naturally water resistant. And we're going to be doing the same thing on each. And we're going to be applying the dye on both skeins the same way. So that way, it's just to like make a point of how intense True Black can be. And I'm going to turn on the heat right away so we can get the dye to strike a little quicker. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the True Black first, because it is truly a potent color, and I just want to ensure that we still see some of the colors, because I like those colors. And you can already see how much darker this one is going to be. So that's interesting. And now we're going to be adding the ballerina pink. And we're going to be adding lilac. Like you can see that this one is already starting to absorb rather nicely, because we have less pigment for the True Black. Because sometimes True Blacks take a little longer to strike, and this one is completely dark. So we will see how intense the color are. But I really like both of them so far. So we're going to wait. I would probably say 15 minutes. Oh, 16 is fine. Before flipping and seeing if we need to add any colors. If we need to add colors for this one because there's less pigment, we are going to add the colors to this one, even if we don't technically need to add it because there's no white patches. Just so we can have a good visual difference. But you can already see how different and potent True Black can be, because this one, the pink and the lilac will be much more subtle. It's still going to be there, I feel, but it's going to be much more subtle, that's for sure. So we'll see each other in 15 minutes. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. The color is struck the yarn. Whoop-de-doo. So we still have some lighter patches, so that's good. But compared to both, like to this one, which this one is the 0.10% versus the 1%, like you can see how much more color spread we had over here. Okay, so let's do this. And you can see that since we have more liquid, the colors stay put a little bit more, which is normal because the water add a layer of resistance. So if you don't want your color to move too much, you just have to ensure that you have a higher level of water in your pan. And now we're going to let this cook for half an hour. And we shall see the final result later. We're going to let it cook for half an hour, and then we're going to wait it for this to cool down completely before washing it off. There we go. See you in half an hour. Okay, so it's been half an hour since we've added the last of the dye, and there is no little pocket of dye anywhere. Okay, so it's good. We're going to turn this off. Like that, and we're going to let this cool completely before we will wash it. So, see you in a bit. Okay, so we have two skeins that we are going to be washing. So usually I would not mix two colors in the same wash simply because I want to make sure that one of the color won't be bleeding on the other one. And like honestly, it's just a rule of thumb, if you're going to mix different colors, you should add a color catcher in your water. However, in this situation, since it was the exact same recipe except for the depth of shades for the true black, I felt comfortable and confident that this was going to be okay, and I did not need to worry about that. So I just put everything in the same basin. There was no bleeding, there was nothing like that, which was very nice. So we're going to put them in the spin dryer, let them dry overnight, and then we'll see the result in a sec. And here's the final result for the experiment we had on Potency. So this is the skein where the black was at 1% depth of shade, and here is the one where it was at 0.10%. So you can see the difference in both colors. Like, it is pretty drastic in my personal opinion, because here we can see so much more of the purple and the pink, where here we still have it. However, it is much darker, more moodier. So this is why it's important to understand which color are more potent, and how much you include it will affect the final color that you obtain. So if you're wanting to have subtle undertones, go with a higher percentage of the true black, where if you want to keep the vibrancy of the purple, the pink, or whichever color you choose to include, maybe lower your the true black or the color that you know is more potent, so that way you can keep the colors that you want to see. And sometimes when you put the color last versus first versus in the middle, it can also impact the final color. So this is all things that you need to keep in mind. So this was just a little fun exercise in potency. So hope you've liked the video. If you've liked it, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one very soon. Bye!